The 450 division, one to watch, has been Joey Savatgy. Started the year off really well. It has almost gotten better even from there. This is not a one-shot wonder. Savatgy is so hard to categorize where he is as a racer. He's on essentially a privateer team, although we'll get to starting to get a little more help from Honda. He's been off the back for a while. He wasn't even in this series full-time. Couldn't even find a ride all the time. But at the same time, JT, you could also say that him being a top 5-ish 450 guy is where his talent level should be at the same time.
Yeah, this isn't a shock to see him kind of mixing it up with these factory guys because, newsflash, he's been a factory guy on a 250 and a 450. He's really just not been this good for a little while. There have been flashes of it. I remember maybe Philadelphia last year, he was riding really well at times. I remember interviewing him in our SMX Insider post show. But this has been a consistent, excellent Joey Savatgy. And that, to me, is the market difference. And yes, kudos to Honda HRC for starting to get him parts and pieces that will improve that performance. But make no mistake, the only reason that Honda HRC is stepping up and helping him is because he deserves it. That's how these things happen. If Joey was getting 12th, which we've seen him also do, he wouldn't be getting the things that he doesn't have immediate access to. Honda is recognizing excellence and saying, yeah, man, you ride like that, we will try to support you as much as we possibly can. So it's a great story to follow here with Joey. It's a great story with Yuriv Konski and that Quad Lock Honda team becoming top 5 regulars. And just to further that point, watch how other guys are racing. Watch how the elites of the sport are racing against Joey. They're not immediately trying to displace him or push him out of the way and kind of that just nonchalant, like you don't belong here type thought. He's just one of them now, right? And they have no issue tucking him behind him and going with him, where before, if he wasn't one of them, they would immediately go for the front wheel, try to get him out of the way because they know he wouldn't be able to sustain a pace that can be in the top 5. So it's a subtle difference, but you know it when you see it, and Joey Savatgy has arrived in this 450 class.
Right. They're not worried about, if I get stuck behind this 17 guy, he's going to hold me up because he's too slow. And you go back to his 250 career, he won a ton of races. He was so close to winning a 250 Supercross title. He led points in Pro Motocross. They know the level of talent he has. He's just finally unlocked it. We mentioned those parts and pieces. Word has filtered out. He told me back at Glendale that he was hoping to get a factory transmission. And JT, you can explain the gear ratios are different. It's more designed for what you need for Supercross, which is not what a bike off the showroom floor is designed to do. Tell me why it's better to have the Supercross style gears, and you can only get that with that custom factory transmission.
It's really simple. It comes down to first and second gear are longer. And when I say longer, that means you can just use them in a wider range of situations. So exiting corners, you see these guys seat bouncing triples. It's really hard to manipulate the clutch in second gear on a stock transmission to get in the right power range to do that. Well, guess what? You can just go all the way down to first and then hold it wide open, and you don't have to worry about any of that. It is a game changer on that. And then on the starts too, if you have a longer second gear on the start, you don't have to shift as quickly on the start. And as soon as you see guys shift, that change in power delivery is enough for someone to get their elbows in front of you and seal you out of the start. So if you can leave second gear longer with more power, you're going to be able to reposition yourself off the start. And it's just going to make life a little bit easier. So it is a huge difference in racing. It may not seem like a big thing on the motorcycle, but as far as the nuance of going faster, it is a game changer for Joey Savatgy.
Yeah, and even better, I think he only had that transmission at the races. Now he's got one for his practice bike, so now he can start. His practice starts during the week will also be with those gears, so he thinks the starts are going to continue to get better. That's an awesome story. And smart move for Honda. You never know. He could end up stealing points from Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen at some point, and even helping Hunter Lawrence try to win this title. Although they're trying to stack all the obstacles in front of Eli Tomac right now. This trophy mishap, first thing that's gone wrong for Tomac in Daytona for like 10 years. This was wild that you guys caught live on the SMX Insider post-race show.
Uh-oh, that hurt. I think he broke his tooth. No. Oh. Man. He's got to go. That is very unfortunate. Eli Tomac went to grab the trophy and it snapped off and hit him in the mouth.
I've never seen anything like that. It's literally the only thing at Daytona that can deter Eli Tomac. And you want to leave there saying, well, he sank his teeth into this championship lead that Hunter Lawrence had, but I did not expect him to sink his teeth into the trophy as well. So you hope they can get that sorted. He was a mixture of really angry, I think a little embarrassed and unsure of how to handle that whole situation. I can't say that I blame him, but again, you look for things that can kind of take Eli Tomac down at Daytona. I guess that's the only one.
I've had to move those Daytona trophies around on the stage because I've announced that event. They are super heavy. That's like a real marble base. But if anyone has experience of how to lift that thing and what you'd expect to happen, it's the guy that had already won the race 7 times before that. So if he's caught by surprise, no reason to be embarrassed. Could happen to anyone. And he also raced a race last year with a broken leg. So I don't think a chipped tooth is going to affect his performance one bit. Just like you said, something to laugh at or be angry at the same time. So the Triple Crown coming up, you and I love this. Now, JT, you never had to race it, so we do know that the riders and teams are always a little leery of it because that's a lot of intensity and a lot of pressure, but it sure leads to mixes up in results.
Yeah, it comes with challenges, right? The teams have to build a backup bike, which, there's an expense to it and extra work, and the riders are talking about it's more racing. But I'm going to tell you as a fan and just a person that's been around this sport their entire life, I believe this is the best platform on an entertainment level we have. 6 times we get to watch the best racers in the world, and I know one of them's divisional, go out there in a race that matters, points-wise and championship-wise. There's no way you're going to be able to top that. You just simply can't, and it's right out of the gate. As soon as we get on the show, those guys have their engines ready, and they're going racing for things that matter in this championship, and it doesn't stop until we go into the SMX Insider post-race show. It is non-stop action. Some of these nights, these Triple Crown nights, are just a home run all the way around. So yeah, I can't wait for it. I love these. I wish there were more, but I understand the purist side. They want the 21-minute race. I understand all that, but for my money, Triple Crowns are where it's at.
Yeah, and that brings us to 250 East. So I feel last year, Indianapolis for 250 East was super pivotal. And here's why. They had East and West there together. Seth Hammaker went out and hammered everybody. And that really reestablished. He had won a race as a rookie in 2021, but it had been really up and down since then. When he won that Indy race, East-West, I think it really showed the new level of Seth Hammaker. He's clearly maintained that, winning Daytona last week. That was big. And then Cole Davies was just so darn fast in these whoops that were almost impossible to even jump through, let alone blitz. I think that really put Davies on the map. And now those two are head-to-head. Joe Shimoda's been riding probably better than expected, coming back from injury. Pierce Brown is the point leader still. So this is a great scenario where someone needs to get momentum in this series.
I think you have 4 guys that can all win it. I truly do. I would have a tough time handicapping who is a clear favorite. I think Seth has momentum. I think Cole Davies is really going to shine in Indy the way he rode these conditions last year. But Pierce Brown has been a revelation, and we're still on the comeback trail for Joe Shimoda. We are not getting his best stuff. I would say he hasn't even thrown his fastball yet, to bring in a baseball reference. So I think we could have any of those 4 guys end up with this championship, and that's the way we want it, right? We watched the 250 West Division. Deegan has run away with this thing. This East Coast is the antithesis of that, where I believe every time the gate drops, any of those 4 can win.
Yeah, the speed of Davies is crazy, no doubt, but then the experience of the others, and that'll be interesting to see if he can harness it every weekend or if they can take advantage of the lessons they've learned in the past. I mean, for sure, Hammaker and Shimoda have been through it and know how these titles can be won and lost. So this is really fun to have that group and a Triple Crown at Indy. But the same story rings true in the 450 division. We touched on this at the top. With the off weekend coming up, everyone's going to have 2 weeks to think about what happens in Indy. I feel like if Cooper Webb or Ken Roczen can win this weekend or not, completely changes their season. I think Hunter and Eli are who they are at this point. Whole season, to me, comes down to this weekend for Roczen or Webb. What do you think?
Yeah, every race matters, of course, but having an extra weekend to let that sink in, both positive or negative, it can go both ways. And you really want to leave this race on the right foot, because every night, every day at the practice track, that off weekend, that's going to set in. It's going to be reinforced by your own thought process, and it can work for you or against you, as I mentioned. So guys that are kind of on the outside looking in, you mentioned Roxon and Webb, they have to claw some points back here, just so they're mentally, they're like, hey, we're going to be back in this thing. We're going to work really hard on the off weekend. We've got the points going the right way, and Birmingham is going to be our time to claw back into this fight. But man, think about what if Eli and Hunter put more points into them. Now we're over 20, and they have to start thinking about, how am I going to ever get those points back with 6 or 7 rounds to go? Like, it's going to feel like something insurmountable. So I agree with you. Pivotal is a perfect word for this. Not even on the math side, just on their mental state going into the off weekend.
Okay, that's it for 30 Board. On to Indianapolis. Here's how and where you can watch. Of course, live on Peacock or the SMX Video Pass outside the United States. And sticking to the same time for almost all the races this year, it'll sound familiar. Race Day Live starts at 1 o'clock Eastern on Saturday, and the racing starts at 7 o'clock Eastern. But keep in mind, by the way, with the Triple Crown format, the last chance qualifiers take place during the day. They're not part of the night show. So at the end of Race Day Live, you'll hear the great Justin Brayton and Adam Cianciarulo give you the call for the LCQ, and then the field will be set for the night show. So that's just the way it goes at the Triple Crown. Just a little reminder there. And I'll be on that show as well with them, filling in for Lurch for the weekend. And Haley Shanley will be there. Also, going to be a fun weekend in Indy, but of course, we'd be remiss if we don't show you the track. So JT, tell us what you think here of Lucas Oil Stadium.
Well, it's going to be a good one. You know, the Triple Crown, I think, is going to take a toll on the track. So I think it's going to be a little soft and a little ruddy, especially in the later Triple Crown events. But look at that long start, goes into that right-hander. So that can be a double-edged sword. Yes, it gives riders room to move around to get into that corner, but also that's a lot of speed to brush off without the full use of your rear brake too. So it could be a tricky first corner. Some pretty big rhythm sections here for Indy. I think some guys, there may be a quad or two in there that guys could pull off depending on how ruddy it ends up being. And then we always have to talk about the whoops coming out of that bowl berm. Are they going to be blitzers? Are they going to be jumpers? Remember how difficult it was to blitz last year, and that's where Cole Davies had a distinct advantage over his 250 competitors. So watch for that to be an ever-changing thing throughout the night.
Well, Davies has definitely had that going also at the first 2 races this year, but he doesn't have a win because the first turn crash and a bad start. Could this be where he gets his season going with a victory? It's going to be tough. 250 East is deep, and we mentioned the Triple Crown format and how pivotal this is in the 450 class.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports. If you enjoyed what you just watched, well, it's time to bring the action and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel. You can have it all: news, highlights, interviews, and analysis. So go for it.